Hey, this is Dolores Medillion, and I am going to do the Publishing Dreams tag that Lindsay Puckett started, and then Kevin from Kevlandia also did and kind of turned it into a tag, but I don't know. April K tagged me to do it. I don't have a long list. Um, I feel like compared to a lot of people who have been thinking about publishing for a really long time, whether indie publishing or traditional, I feel like such a baby with this because I have not had much deep thought into publishing and like details like I talked about in my newbie tag. I didn't even have like a dream publishing agency because um, I just my overall dream is just to get published, and I didn't care how it happened, and I kind of still feel that way. But I after April tagged me and I was like, okay, I need to sit down and think about this because I do want to do this video because I want to, like I said before, I want to interact. I want to be part of the community. So I was like, okay, first tag, need to do it. So I sat down and I really thought about, okay, what would be the things that I really want to do? And after thinking about it a little bit, I have a few things, and then watching some other people's videos made me think about some other things. At first, I'm like, maybe not, but then other people put like slight spins on it, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, maybe I would like that. So, I don't know how small my list actually is. I've only my initial ones. I only had 1, 2, 3, 5. And then I have a couple more that I thought about later. None of them are in like a I would love this first, and that like none of them are like truly ranked. It's just like what I wrote down at the time and then thought about later. So my first one would be to go. So everyone has the dream of like going into their local bookstore or like Barnes and Noble and like taking a picture with their book and being like, oh, I got published. I talked about in my newbie talk how libraries were really important to me growing up because that's where I got most of my books, if not all of them. If someone didn't give me one for my birthday or if I wasn't gifted one, the library. That was where book home church was for me. My temple was a library. So what I would love is to be able to go to my local county library, find my book on the shelf of the library that I had as a child, and be like, yes, I will be able to inspire other people in my county. So I would love to be able to do that. And yeah, I guess go into the city in Tucson and go to the Barnes and Noble. I don't got bookstores here, but to go into the city and go into Tucson and go to the Barnes and Noble and see my book on the shelf and like take a picture with it. I would probably do that too, but the library, that's where my heart and my soul is. And that's where I would love to like take my author picture is in my library, in the shelves that brought me to different worlds. So, and I actually worked or volunteered at my local library too. So when I was in high school and a little bit in college. So yes, it would just make I feel like my whole life complete if it was in my local library. And then my second dream, which I commented on April's video, is I would love to work PRN at the hospital that I'm working at right now, and then be able to write full time. So PRN is pretty much um, like almost like temp work where you only work like the minimum amount of hours that you can work and still be like employed. So at the library, there's like various levels of what they call PRN. You could work once a month or once a week or once every, I think there's one that's like once every couple months or a few months. But that all depends on what tier you want to be and what you decide to sign. So I would love to still do that so that I could go in, you know, probably, maybe once a week or like every 2 weeks or something like that. Go in and experience what I do like, which I do love working at the hospital and taking care of patients, but then be able to like have that, satisfy that, and then come home and write and do what I really want to do. Because there you hear so many stories at the hospital. So many people, letting you into their lives. So many people tell their life stories to you when you're working there, or they talk about things that they've seen or their children, and it's so nice. So I would love to still be able to go there, and then because if I wrote full time, I would go full hermit mode. I know myself. I would like hardly leave my house. So I would need something like a PRN position at the hospital to force me to go interact with people. So because on my days off, I really don't do anything. Even before the pandemic, I was just like, no, I'm tired. So um that would be a big dream of mine, to be able to live off of my books mostly, and then my husband's income because he'll probably still be working, and just go work at the hospital when I wanted to, when I felt like I wanted to. So, my next one would be that I want to be in a book box. I don't care what book box it is, if it's one of the bigger ones, like Alexa Dunn was talking about how even though her debut was in a couple of boxes, which is how I found her, she wants to be in like Owl Crate, like those big name boxes that everybody knows about. If you know about a book box subscription, it's probably like Owl Crate or Fairy Loot, those really big ones. I don't necessarily care. I mean, I know, again, I'm writing adult fantasy, and there's not a lot of adult fan or just adult in general book boxes. They're starting to be like oh, what is it? Unplugged has an adult version of their YA book box, and I know there's a couple other ones. That's just the one that came in my head because I just saw a recent unboxing of one. So I wouldn't care if it's what any kind of book box. I just want to be in a book box. I think it'd be so cool because this is how I got introduced into my little tag is flying around. I apologize if it bothers people. I would love to go and be able to unbox my box in a subscription box and be like, it's mine, and be like so excited over it, and maybe like introduce other people to me that way, like I was introduced into Alexa Dunn. So I would love that. I don't care what kind of box it is, just a book box, no matter how big or how small it is. Love it. Yes. um then I would love to be able to participate in our local festival here, our local book festival. It's called the Festival of Books. It's in um, the closest city to me, Tucson. It takes place on the university campus there. And I've gone and walked around the festival plenty of times. In high school, I volunteered for a little while to get hours for volunteer work at my school. And I enjoyed it. And when we first started, we got a couple of big name authors. They're not always, to me, like really big names. Again, I'm not like deep down into some of the genres that they invite into us. But I would love to be able. They like to promote local authors, whether they're indie or traditionally published. I would love to be able to like sit on a panel or do signings. I'm sure I'd be hella nervous, like super crazy, like nervous, but I would love to do it because I'd be like inspiring local authors maybe, or just people to read. Yeah, I would love it to be able to do that. And then um one of my extra, there's one more thing I wrote down, but I want to do it last just in case I get a little emotional. But one of the other things I hadn't originally thought about, but everyone made me think about it. I'm saying a lot. I'm sorry. Um, it would be having a fandom. So at first, when everyone was kind of talking about it, I was like, what's her name? Grapefry, I think. I watched her publishing dreams, and she talked about the way she talked about it made me think about it in a different way. And I think I would actually like that. I would like the fact that people love my characters so much that they want to be in that world with my characters, and you know want to take the ability to change it to what they want, even if, like, let's say they don't like the way my ending is going to be, because unless I change it while I'm writing it, my ending is definitely like kind of bittersweet. So I can see many people hating my ending because it's not what they want. But um like knowing that people are writing fan fiction and like changing my ending so that the way I ended it doesn't happen and it happens nicer. So I would be fine with that. Like, I never wrote fan fiction, very similarly because of the dyslexia and then being afraid of what people would think about my writing and my fan fiction. But I still read some fan fiction. Like, I dove hard into fan fiction in the Harry Potter world, in X-Men, in Justice League. What else did I read? I read Strange Magic is like this really tiny, not tiny, it's a small short animated movie that because I was in the whole Kylo Ren and Ray fandom, they talked about that movie and I went and I bought it off of Amazon and watched it, and it's become my secret, like, guilty, well, not secret, I'm telling the internet, but it's become a guilty pleasure of mine, of like, where I feel bad, I'm just gonna watch it because it's perfect, honestly. I don't care what critics say about George Lucas and the movie. I loved it. It was beautiful. You should go watch it. It's on Amazon. You have to buy it. It's not that expensive. Um, but like a lot of random things like that. If I really enjoyed a book, I would literally go see if people had already wrote fan fiction, because I'm usually behind on like trends. So I'm like, someone has to have wrote something. Um, Especially when like I tend to ship people that are not conventional all the time. Like, I'll put it out there for Harry Potter. I love Draco Jenny pairing. I know that people love Hermione and Draco together. I'm like, no, I think I love a lot of people compare him to like fire and ice. I love that. That whole like complete polar opposite coming together. And it's like, yes, because you know that every time they fight, it's going to be just huge world exploding, burning, that fire and ice couple. But then in the end, it's going to be a great apology makeup. So, um, I love that ability to express yourself, because you know that's what we do. That's how we became writers. We enjoyed what someone wrote and then took from there and made our own in some way, whether you were like me and like just made up stories in your head and just lived in your head world, or you shared them with the world on fan fiction sites, and other people were like, yes, I love your world, and I'm totally going to be in there with them. Maybe made shipments of them. So that was one of my added ones that you guys had got me into also. Um, the last one that I wrote down, I talked about my family a little bit in my newbie tag. My dad is a huge inspiration for me. He had me and my sister, for the most part, before my brothers came into our lives in a more solid way. And he did not want us to think that we were any less for being a girl. We could do whatever the hell we wanted, and he would support us, whether it was, being a president, or being, military, or doing something else that was male driven. He didn't care. He loved sci-fi, which is where I get my love of sci-fi from. And he didn't care that most people were men that loved sci-fi, or that it was a male genre. He totally threw me in it. I was a Star Trek Trekkie before I could speak. No, before I was born. My parents went to a convention for Star Trek while my mom was pregnant of me. She met Scotty, and he put his hand on her belly. I love this story. Put his hand on her belly and said, "Next Trekkie." So I was ordained by the most amazing engineer. You can fight me on that, in Star Trek. and I've constantly fallen over it. I love Spock. He is my lover, and if I couldn't have him, Bones. And then Scotty is my third. But I love it. I was deeply inspired to want to help people by them. I love the ideology and everything. And I fell forward into that world. I've watched every single Star Trek show. I haven't finished watching Star Trek Discovery because I kind of got a little upset with it. And I haven't watched the new Picard. Though, again, you can fight me. I was not the biggest fan of Picard as a captain. But you can fight me. I'm fine. I'm good with this fight. But and then my sister, she wasn't as big in the Star Trek world, but she fell totally forward into Star Wars. I love Star Wars too, but she fell way deep into it with my dad growing up. She even went to the opening or the midnight release for the Phantom Menace with my dad and dressed up in an apprentice outfit, and my dad dressed up as a Jedi. And everyone loved her in line. Like, my dad did not care that it was a male driven genre. We were women, and we could watch and do whatever we want. To this day, my sister is a mechanic. That's a male driven field. And she is a really good mechanic. And she can hold her own against those guys. And she's short. So she's like short and a girl. And she's like, F you. I can do this too. So because my dad has been such a big influence on me, I guess, I know I said I didn't really rank these, but I guess my biggest dream that would crush me to some degree if this couldn't happen would be that I finish this book, even though this is not my sci-fi book. Finish this book, get it published, and be able to give it to my dad and him read it and tell me what he thinks, even if he doesn't like it. The fact that my dad could read my story and tell me good job, even though he hated it because it's not his thing, though he inspired the story, the elf story that I'm writing. I would love if he could do that and read it on his own, because I know he would want to be able to read it on his own. because he has a nerve dysfunction that we're still trying to put a label on, and it's getting harder for him. It's getting harder for him to do daily tasks and for him to remember things. And I'm sure at one point he's going to start losing memories. And even if he forgot that memory, the fact that I had it, that he like smiled and held the book and said I did a great job and was like being my biggest promoter, because he's always been, anytime I did something good that I was like, oh, whatever. No, my dad was like, no, this is amazing. And we have to tell the whole family. I would love that. I would love him to be able to hold and read my book and say, good job, Mika. Good job. And I know he'd still love it if I had to read it to him, or if he had to read an audiobook because he couldn't read anymore on his own. But it would just be so different and so amazing if that could happen, because I know that's what he would want. And he's always encouraged me. He talked me out of going to school for writing, and I did talk about that. But he's never discouraged me from writing. He read my poems and he thought they were really great, and he encouraged that. And I know publishing takes a long time. Traditional publishing, they're slow. But even if it was just an arc, it's still a physical book, and I would love that. I would love for him to be able to hold my book and be like, my girl did that. My princess did that. Sorry, that would be the best dream I could have. Even if none of my other dreams came true. I didn't get big enough to have, or any real attention to get a fandom. If I didn't get into a book box, or my library didn't buy my book, even if none of that happened, I would love just for my dad to read my book and be like, hey, I did it. I did it. And yeah. Even if that's the only book he ever gets to read on his own, that, my next book, my science fiction book that I'm trying to fix, he doesn't get to read on his own, and maybe I have to read it to him, or he has to listen to it, or if he's not here for it, that's fine. But as long as he got to see one, then that would make everything. Even if I never published another book in my life, that would make the whole experience worth everything for me. Not that I don't want, I have so many ideas. I want to publish all my ideas. So yeah, I guess. Okay. That's my publishing dreams. That is the end of my list. So I don't really know anybody. I'm in that sense, I don't have that many views on my videos, so I'm not going to tag anybody. If you are an author tuber and watch this and you want to film the tag, I'm not really calling it a tag, then feel free. Publish. Yeah, do the publishing dreams. So, I have writing to do. All right, I will see you guys later. Bye.